The funding for this video is provided by the amazing members of my Patreon. Also contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Yeah, I started from PBS Kids. What you gonna do? Fight me? Anyway, roll the video. Hey, what was the name of that show you were watching? With the girls in the fashion school?
Oh, you mean Rainbow High?
Yeah, that one.
It's cute, but
But what?
it has issues.
We're going out tonight. The scene is out of sight. Gonna get my girls together. We'll be feeling alright. We're gonna move through the crowd. Come on, boys, get loud. 'Cause when the music starts bumping, the whole place will be jumping. It's my scene, my scene. You know what I mean. It's my scene, my scene. You know what I mean. My scene.
Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an accessible online community who specializes in helping with learning new things. Everyone knows that I am a nerd, meaning that I like to learn for fun and my TP stays on educational programming and video essays. With Skillshare, I am able to add more of that content to my media diet. They literally have something for everything. I am in the process of taking my business to the next level, and make a living as an artist has been very much helpful. Long story short, if you need help with anything that is in the business and creative fields, Skillshare is the place for you to go. And it's not even just that. You can learn how to cook on Skillshare. And I know a lot of y'all don't know how to cook, so go here. And if you use my link that is down in the description box, you will get a 1-month free trial. Thank you, Skillshare, so much for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into today's subject matter. Disclaimer: I know that there's plenty of speculation of the girls as races within this series, as people have difficulty depicting what girl is what race. So I will say this: we are going to talk about the portrayal of blackness and brownness within Rainbow High because the series has the same issues with both. For the most part, this documentary, because I can call it that, will mostly cover seasons 1 and 2 of Rainbow High, with a short section about season 3 because season 3 is a hot mess and that deserves its own production. This one is already long enough. As today's subject matter is about the stories of black and brown girls told poorly, I think I must direct you to a space that does these girls justice as opposed to this series. Join and support the SBG Book Club. If you can, please donate. Link to the website will be in the description box. I am not even exaggerating when I say that Rainbow High is the kid version of The Real Housewives of Potomac. And that is because the colorism be coloring, the featureism be featuring, and the texturism be texturizing. Overall, blackness along with brownness feels very weird as hell within this show. Like, what the fuck is going on? Before we can go any further, we need to know exactly what Rainbow High is. Rainbow High overall is a doll line, but for today we're going to be specifically talking about the TV show that goes along with it. Rainbow High is created by a man of the name of Michael Scott Anderson, who is in fact white. Knowing that this was created by a white man has led to the issues that we will be talking about within this movie. Yes, I am calling this a movie because I can do that. This is my pirate ship. I can do exactly what the hell I want over here. Remember, I'm the captain. I'm the HBIC. I am the head person in charge on this platform, on this section. But just so you guys know that Michael Scott Anderson be giving Thomas Asterisk. So if you don't know who Thomas Asterisk is, good. Overall, Rainbow High, the series, is a show about bougie girls at fashion school and art school. Like that's literally what it is. Overall, he just wanted the premise of the series without going into the detail about it. Literally, it's super duper cute. Aside from the problems that this franchise has overall, I love Rainbow High. But just because I love Rainbow High does not mean that it is immune to criticism regarding its use of black and brownness. Now, one thing a lot of people don't know is that Rainbow High is also owned by MGA. Now, if you guys don't know who MGA is, this company owns another popular doll line that cannot decide if their target audience is little kids, teenagers with bad attitudes, or bougie adults. Basically, it's the doll line that Rainbow High often gets compared to, as they say it's kind of like the new version of it, which I can understand why people think that to a certain extent. It's Bratz. But when you look at the Bratz dolls, what exactly do you notice about them? While the girls are all of different races, aside from skin tone, the features are pretty much the same. Features that you would usually see on black and brown people. But if you put Chloe, who is the white Bratz doll, and Sasha, who is the black Bratz doll, next to each other, ignore the skin tone, ignore the hair color. They don't look that much different. And the way they are dressed is very much similar too, as they both have this Instagram baddie look going for them, which was popularized by, you guessed it, black women. This right here is where Rainbow High and Bratz mirror each other. So when you look at a white Rainbow High doll and then a black one, both are extremely identical. You have the same face shape, the same eyes, same nose, but different hair color and skin tone, and also don't forget them baby hairs. Honestly, let's be real, hair color in Rainbow High doesn't matter to a certain extent because all the girls have different colored hair, including the white girls and the girls of color. Hold on. But wait, that's not it, because it does matter. Look at these girls' hair. What does that remind you guys of? Those colored lace front wigs that are often worn by, you guessed it, black women. As this is with most of the girls overall, this series, like many other doll lines, have an issue with both featureism and texturism. And as these two things are issues that many people don't know about, it's time for a little breakdown. What is texturism? Similar to how we are told we have good nose when it's slim and small, good hair is often defined as hair that is smooth, looser curls. This idea that good hair is correlated with the hair texture has been termed texturism. Texturism is a preference for hair that is smoother, looser texture, and a discrimination against people with kinkier, coarse hair within the same race. When it comes to curls, looser hair are idealized and fetishized for their proximity to Eurocentric standards of beauty, good hair. Be it through hair ads, songs, poems, and everyday interactions, looser, smoother, and longer curls are favored, praised, and held up to the standard of when we consider beautiful hair. Like colorism and featureism, texturism is most often perpetrated against us by our own societies. We not only normalize these preferences, at worst, these preferences are also institutionalized. In the case of African Americans, laws and policies in America prohibit natural hair and hairstyles worn by black people, such as afros, locks, and braids, in schools and workplaces. This makes texturism a particularly problematic issue. While not always gendered, women are often than not disproportionately victimized by texturism. For darker toned women, having good hair becomes more critical in building a positive self-image since colorism is already in play. By the way, can we please get rid of the term good hair? Like, leave that shit in like 2014 where it needed to stay. I never want to hear it again. What is featureism? Featureism is society accepting or preferring certain features over others. It is the preferential treatment of people with features that have been historically been considered better or easier on the eyes. The preferred features are predominantly European features that uphold the Eurocentric standard of beauty. Featureism, like colorism, affects all ethnicities and characteristic features that challenge Eurocentric norms. This kind of discrimination leads to the degrading of physical features that define people of particular races, such as full lips and broad noses, common in black features. Like colorism, featureism is often gendered. Women are disproportionately affected by this type of discrimination due to unfair beauty standards. Featureism is in part why so many young girls with more prominent noses and lips before it was trendy suffer from self-hatred and insecurities about their features. Falling short of the supposedly universal and frankly racist idea of beauty has a negative impact on the self-esteem of all women. All the dolls in the doll line have the same facial features but different skin colors. That is what we would call featureism. When most of the black girls have straight hair, that is what we would call texturism. I just want to make it clear that it's not a problem that most of the black girls in Rainbow High wear their hair straight, as many black girls do in fact wear their hair straight. But it's a problem because when there are only 2 black characters with black hairstyles within the first 2 seasons, while one of those girls has loose curls and we barely even see them. As I want to make it clear that brown girls have textured hair just as well as black girls, but also making the black and brown girls' facial features slightly larger than the white girls isn't making much of a difference. This is in fact still featureism.
So scandalous.
Now, let's get into the arcs that the black and brown girls of Rainbow High have season by season. But before we can get there, we have to talk about the one thing that makes the episodes, because guess what? If you don't have any script, you can't shoot shit. You can't draw shit. You can't film shit. We need to take a look at Rainbow High's writer's room because it's honestly a majority of where the issues with this show fall under. There's problems with the art department, but right here, it's the writing. Out of all the writers, there is only one black woman. And while I'm not gonna sit here and depict if she looks black enough, because no, I legit have been told by people that I don't look black enough, so I'm not even gonna argue on that. But I do need to bring to attention that she is light-skinned with blonde hair and blue eyes. Hi, me from the editing room. I just want to make it clear that her hair is dyed blonde, okay? Because I found other pictures of her and her hair was brown. But yeah, when I said she has blonde hair, that is how she chooses to wear it now all the time. And also, I made the decision to not include a picture of her simply because she doesn't necessarily really have a following on social media, and I don't want, like I said, this is not a Rainbow High hate video or anything like that. I don't want anybody to go and attack this woman because it's pretty obvious that she wants to keep her private life private and all of that jazz. So yeah, please be respectful. Which, it's not a good look because Rainbow High has a very big colorism problem that we will talk about sporadically throughout this movie. Yes, I'm gonna keep calling it a movie because I can. Let's go ahead and get into the girls' arcs, specifically the black and brown girls' arcs. And the only time I will really bring up one of the white girls in the show is if a white girl has something to do with their storyline. So come on, Sunny, you're first.
Hi, I'm Sunny Madison, Violet's BFF for forever.
Sunny Madison, like her name, she's like a little ray of sunshine. If you hate her, you're just a bitch. Sunny is a black girl who's into animation, so like, yay, we already love her over here on the pirate ship. She's always welcome. But Sunny is one of the first characters in the series that we meet, and we see that her friend that she came with, Violet Willow, who is white, isn't the kindest to her. And not too long after meeting Sunny, we get to meet the Rainbow High version of Harriyannahook, my queen Avery. Miss Avery Styles, the HBIC of Rainbow High.
Wait, I know your names. You're on our floor.
And then next we meet Skylar, who is one of Sunny's roommates.
She can still be your best friend, even if she meets new people.
Now, Skylar comforts Sunny after she expresses that she's sad about not sharing a room with Violet. It is very cute when we get to see the black girls paired up with one another, which doesn't really happen too often as it should. And then the last black girl that we meet in season 1 of Rainbow High would have to be Crystal Bailey, the girl who is in charge of the school's magazine.
I am asking everyone the same question. Why do you deserve to be featured in the Rainbow High scene?
Now, I do need to bring to attention the way the fans, the audience reception to Crystal was, because it was a little bit cringe, I'd say. The way people were treating Crystal from the jump was concerning because people were pointing out that Rainbow High had no dark-skinned girls in their lineup at the time, as this was the beginning of Rainbow High's journey, which was 2022. And it was rumored that Crystal was added because they got backlash for not having a dark-skinned girl. And yes, we are all here for dark skin representation, but so many people could not see Crystal outside of her being the dark skinned Rainbow High doll because the franchise started off very much colorist. But still, before we can go into much detail about the colorism with the girls, we need to go over the colorism that is with the staff of Rainbow High. So let's go ahead and get started with Miss Wright, the principal of Rainbow High. Very pretty lady, the bob be bobbing. Like, ooh girl, it be hitting. But one thing about Miss Wright is that she's mean as hell. Next in Rainbow High, there's only like 4 teachers in this show. So the next teacher, staff member, whatever that we meet is Miss Morton. And then some white lady whose name I just can't remember because she was just so damn boring to me. And then lastly, Paris Hilton. That's a problem that a lot of you guys don't realize is the colorism in Rainbow High was very much obvious in season 3, but it was always present. As we meet Miss Wright, she can be very nasty for no reason at all, and we see that she is a dark-skinned black woman. And then we meet Miss Morton later on down the line, who is a lot lighter than Miss Wright, is nicer, and the students like her a lot more.
Okay, hey, editing me here. So it was brought to my attention about Miss Wright, as Miss Wright is the head master, and how she is in a higher position of power than Miss Morton. And because like Miss Wright is the headmaster, that's how a lot of them are. A lot of them are more strict and more stern. It can be read to be a bit as mean and that of the sort. And yes, I do understand that aspect right there. Like, yeah, she's the headmaster. She's literally the HBIC in charge of Rainbow High. Like, that's her job. But like I said, it did come off as colorist and distasteful because the only other adult that we really see working in that school right there for that time period, you know, before we meet Miss Paris Hilton in this universe, we have the lighter skinned woman of color who's a lot nicer, and then we have the darker skinned woman of color who is mean. So yeah, it is technically colorism, even though Miss Wright is still in a position of power over Miss Morton. She is still mean. So I do understand the context about how Miss Wright kind of has to be that way because she is the headmaster. But if they ended up putting another teacher in the school that looked a lot like Miss Wright, that being like a dark-skinned black woman, it most likely wouldn't feel so icky and gross. So yeah.
And then we get Paris Hilton, who is fairly nice, unlike Miss Wright, but she is a lot kind like Miss Morton is. But guess what? Paris Hilton ended up getting a doll. Paris Hilton got a doll instead of Miss Wright, and Miss Morton can be read as racism and as a bit of cheap marketing because you can literally throw Paris Hilton's name on anything and people will buy it. Trust me, I used to wear Paris Hilton's perfumes all the time. My favorite was Passport to Paris. Paris Hilton has a big history of anti-blackness, and we are going to bring her up again in season 3 because what she did there, and then looking at her past with the nasty things she has done and said, was a very awful look. You know, it's an awful look when you know what happened. Now, I truly do believe that white people can learn from their racist behavior, but as someone who has literally admitted to voting for Cheeto Man and is now a part of a franchise that is full of black and brown girls, that was not the smartest business move to make Rainbow High. MGA, we need to have a word. I have several ones. Then again, a bunch of people didn't care and they fangirled when they found out that Paris Hilton was going to be in the show. So they were successful at the end of the day because they still made money. But now Paris, compared to the other staff getting a doll and them not, and Paris' history of saying the damn N-word, that in fact can be read as racism. But with the two white ladies and then a light-skinned woman of color being nice and then a dark-skinned lady being rude as fuck, that is straight up colorism and you cannot defend it. The darkest person that we see up until this point, like I said, is Miss Wright, and she doesn't necessarily count because this series focuses on the girls. But before we get to Crystal, because Crystal doesn't come in until the end of season 1, the darkest girl that we meet at this time period is Avery. And let me tell y'all, Avery's my skin color. I am not dark skinned.
Editing me here. Okay, so the thing about when I said Avery is like the same color as me, she was not always brown skinned. She absolutely fucking wasn't. If you go back and look at like the first parts of Rainbow High and then look at her doll, Avery is just as light as Skylar. Avery got darker as the show went on, and I'm pretty sure that may have had to do with the team getting dragged for not having any darker skinned girls. And like I said, Avery's brown skin. Avery's not even dark skinned. Like, she darker than Sunny and Skylar, but yeah, it was very, very bad beginnings for Rainbow High.
Like, me and Avery very much brown skinned. We are not dark. It's still colorism. And those basically are the 4 black girls that we meet in season 1. Now, out of all these girls, guess which one of them had their own arc? The lightest one. Now, before we move on, I just want to address that a lot of people can argue that Sunny and Skylar are the same skin color depending on the lighting, but Skylar is in fact lighter. Even when you look at their actual dolls on the doll line, you would see that Sunny is the darkest one between them. And like I said, Sunny is not dark skinned. She is brown skinned, like on the lighter side of brown skin. So that's why when the doll line released first before the series came out and people saw that, they were like, no, where's the dark skinned girls? Because Sunny's not dark skinned. It doesn't really matter or make much of a difference because Sunny is still a black girl that is still not being done justice by this series. And also, Skylar is still lighter than Avery and Crystal. Skylar is struggling with the fact that her boyfriend does not want to be with her anymore and she's kind of embarrassed about it. But also, we see so much more about Skylar with her fashion major than we see with Sunny and her animation major. I'm not even joking that, like, sometimes you forget that Sunny likes animations because they sometimes forget to bring it up. Like, there was a point where they went without bringing up that Sunny like cartoons and drawing. And then I noticed that they started bringing it up a lot more in season 2 because that was just some shit that they brought to our attention and they just never did it again. Like, Rainbow High has an issue when doing stuff like that. Sunny is really only used in group settings and not having a standalone arc unlike the other girls. And the thing with her and Violet is not addressed again until the next season. Avery is a mentoring figure to the girls, especially with fashion. And it's cute to see how Sunny really does look up to Avery. Like, I appreciate that they put that aspect in there. It's cute to see that Avery is the ringleader of her little posse just as well, until that shit came crumbling down in season 2. We gonna get there. Listen, y'all, season 2 of Rainbow High was just a trip sometimes, because it ended up getting ghetto as hell at some parts. But moving forward, Sunny, Avery, and Crystal's purposes within season 1 was just to be there for other girls. And it was worse with Crystal being the darkest one because we really only saw her in 1 episode at this point. And if you don't see the colorism so far, then I don't know what to fucking tell you. It doesn't matter if you, a lighter skinned person, does not see colorism. Dark skinned people have stated that instances like this are colorism. Oftentimes, conversations about colorism are hard to have with the media we consume, especially children's media, because people do not want to shut up and listen. And so much of this comes from black people. So I want to read you guys a bit from Miss Vixen's Why I Stopped Talking to Light-Skinned People About Colorism. And there's also a video that goes along with this article, which will both be linked down below. But I want to insert a piece of the article right here. One of my ongoing issues with discussing colorism with light-skinned people is that their lack of understanding of anti-blackness, privilege, and power structures, and the way these ideas must exist to result in the actual oppression of a person. Simply put, not all pain is oppression. We have to all be real with ourselves about that. There's always a very weird need for light-skinned black people to insert their own hurtful experiences as black people and name that reverse colorism. It is very empty and basic understanding of what actual conversations of colorism is about.
Somehow it's lost that colorism is something very independent of their trauma due to the anti-blackness and racism we all experience. Anti-blackness is a very specific kind of racism against black people. So many of us understand that blackness is one of the most feared and hated constructs created by white supremacy. Yet, it is somehow forgotten that black people can also be perpetrators of oppression. In particular, having internalized anti-black ideas that allows us consciously and subconsciously treat each other badly, it has been through these many hurtful conversations about colorism that I have had other black people who are light-skinned that it made clear that there isn't a basic understanding that colorism lives abundantly in anti-blackness and that they too can be guilty of maintaining this hurtful system whether they have chosen to or not. With such a huge piece missing, how will they ever understand colorism? Colorism allows preferential treatment of lighter skinned people, and you are light skinned, you benefited whether you consciously participated or not. Privilege, which is the unearned and mostly unacknowledged societal advantage that a restricted group of people have over another group or person, dictionary.com, is usually skipped over when addressing colorism's impact in our communities. Light-skinned black people need to understand that addressing colorism isn't a conversation about whether you are black or not black. It is a discussion about discussing you are the preferred black person and the benefits you receive from being that preference. The power structure colorism gives the preferred black person, and in the case of colorism, lighter skinned people have the power and authority to continue this system or stop it. Time and time again, the choice is not to stop it. That's where my indifference is birthed.
Now, with season 1 of Rainbow High, the colorism problem is a bit eyebrow raising because it happens in many different ways. As we have seen it with the staff of the series, and then we also saw it with Sunny, Skylar, and Avery. And I will go ahead and say that I kind of think that the staff aspect of colorism was a bit worse than what it was with the girls, because at this point in Rainbow High we only see 2 staff members in the school, and which is the dark-skinned black woman who is Miss Wright, and then the lighter-skinned woman of color who is Miss Morton. And we know the stereotypes and the traits that come along with that, where light-skinned women are seen to be as soft, nicer, and more approachable, while dark-skinned women are seen to be mean and nasty and bitter. That's literally the comparison between Miss Morton and Miss Wright's character. Miss Wright is nasty and mean as shit, but Miss Morton is very much caring, and it does put like a bit of a bad taste in my mouth how we do see that Miss Morton is kinder, she is, and that the girls like her a lot more than they did Miss Wright. It's bad. It's very bad. And the reason why I just personally think it's a lot worse with the staff than the girls in season 1. Oh, it's still bad overall. But we saw white girls with the other girls in season 1. There was like no white staff members. It was just those 2 women of color. So, oh, it showed a lot more there. And as I had mentioned before, that there is only 1 black woman in the writer's room for Rainbow High. So when it comes to instances like this, when it comes to colorism, and to know that the only black woman in the writer's room is a light-skinned black woman, it kind of feels a bit as internalized colorism, where they don't seem to realize that what they did was wrong. Now, moving back to the girls, that we have Skylar, Crystal, Sunny, and Avery. Skylar is the only one that has her own arc and is allowed to fuck up. Avery's purpose is just to be there to be seen as a mentor and figure for the younger students, that making her a bit of a mammy. Also, I just need to point out that Avery's hair was a fucking mess in the pilot, and then they fixed it later on. I was so annoyed and bothered by it, okay? But also, moving back to Avery, as I mentioned how she is a mentoring figure for the younger students who are probably like only a year or 2 younger than her, that makes Avery to be a bit of a mammy figure. That, spoiler alert, gets worse in season 2 when we learn more about Avery. Sunny's purpose is to be there to help everyone and be by their side when they need support. And then Crystal was just there. It was like her big episode, Crystal Westbrook's debut, and then that was just pretty much it. Avery and Sunny are not as dark as Crystal, but they got way more screen time, but they didn't have their own arc. So when it comes to season 1 of Rainbow High, I try not to judge the portrayal of blackness too much because the show was new and it was just now starting out. You know how a lot of shows have a bit weird and wonky season 1s, but then later on things start to work out in the seasons to come. And then also you have to remember in season 1 of Rainbow High that we barely have any characters compared to how it is in the next 2 seasons. Let's get into it.
Hi everyone, the captain here. I just wanted to get on here real quick and tell you guys thank you so much for your support. I have gotten so much fan art from you guys, and I've met plenty of y'all in person at the conventions that I have been at. And also thank you guys so much for coming to the panels that I host. It means so much to me. You guys are so great. I appreciate every little last bit of support you guys give me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can say thank you 100 times, but I truly do mean it. Thank you.
I swear Avery was in her euphoria era when she had this crying on her face, but anyway. Season 2 of Rainbow High is where the issues with blackness and brownness become more prominent. And the colorism, texturism, and the semi-anti-blackness went from a 5 from season 1 to an 8 in season 2. And the way certain things were handled with the black girls in the series was a bad look. Season 2 of Rainbow High really started to show that there was not much blackness going on behind the scenes of production, because the first new black girl that we meet in season 2, and mind you that these are little characters that would like run around in the backgrounds a little bit in season 1, but weren't really like important, I'd say. So the first of the new black and brown girls that we meet in season 2 of Rainbow High would have to be Daria, and she is the new roommate of the white girl who got kicked out in season 1, Bella.
I think it's so good for you to get to have a fresh start, and we could definitely use a new art director, as long as you're done being a baddie.
And then the next girl of color we have is Kia.
Can you believe that Amaya and River are official?
And then Crystal comes back. How nice.
Of course I can. You're the one who told River they were a match.
And then we have Karma.
I know for a fact that she also squeezed in a visit to an island in the Philippines.
So it's like we meet all of these new black and brown girls back to back, right? Well, enjoy them 3 little lines that they get, because that's all you're gonna get from them. That's all the fuck we get. Like, yes, it was a nice addition that we did get more black and brown girls added to the series. They are just mostly pushed in the background. And it's not really worth bringing up their arcs because they were just a bit of a repeat of Crystal's character from season 1, as her only purpose was to help the girls, and that's it. Like, nothing else, nothing really standalone, I'd say. But then I find it very funny in particular because people could be like, oh, it's because the black and brown girls were like the new characters in Rainbow High. They're not a part of the main lineup. That's why they weren't all that important. But I find that very fucking interesting because we ended up getting 2 new white girls who were twins. Their names were Laurel and Holly. They basically were the Rainbow High equivalent of the Tweebles from the Brat Show. Laurel and Holly get a bunch of attention. And then we get another white girl that gets a lot of attention just as well, Gabriella. But then we meet this one brown-skinned girl, and her name is Georgia Bloom.
No, why did I make that deal with those super beautiful but mischievous enchantresses?
She did not even talk in the episode that she was in that was about her after the first fucking minute. It's very off-putting how she was supposed to be the star of the show, but then at the last minute she couldn't perform because her voice was gone and was replaced by, go ahead and guess, you might be right, ding ding ding, a white girl. And then next thing we know, we got Sunny over here being talked to by Violet like she done lost her damn mind. Like, Violet gaslit her so bad this season. Like, my jaw was literally to the floor because it wasn't even just that one instance of a white girl talking to a girl of color like that. Rainbow High has this ongoing issue of white girls thinking that they can talk to girls of color any kind of way. And it's like a repetitive thing, but it showed really bad when Violet was going off on Sunny, and Sunny had tried her best to defend herself, but Violet still made her seem like she was affecting her in the worst ways possible.
But it's like what you said on the first day of school. If we split up, it's more friends for us both.
And the thing with like Violet and Sunny is that they make up at the end, and then the series just goes back to focusing on Violet more and not Sunny, as usual. And then we have to get into the section with the Rainbow High band. Basically the band is led by a white girl. I'm pretty sure she's white. If she is not white, the leader of the band, comment down below. Please let me know, because from what I can find, that girl's white. But the lead is the white girl, and then the 2 girls on her side are black girls. Vanessa, she has these very, very cute box braids, and she plays the drums.
These are so golden. Let's meditate on them.
And then we have Carmen, who is this girl with this big curly hair. And these are the first 2 Rainbow High dolls that we do see with black hairstyles, so that's great. But once the music arc is up, which is literally 1 episode, we barely see them again except for them roaming around in the hallways and in the classrooms, having 1 or few lines here and there. Carmen!
So what do you suggest we do?
Carmen. We finally get a Rainbow High girl with textured hair. Great. But please don't tell me who I think this is. Oh shit. I know that voice. I know her voice actor. And when I realized who she was, I felt very much indifferent. Carmen is not voiced by a black woman. She is voiced by a white Latina by the name of Christina V. Okay, so I don't get ate up in the comment section about the subject of Christina. Like I said, I am not dragging her or anything like that. But here I call her a white Latina. And just to like double check, she has stated herself that she is Mexican and Lebanese. And for those of y'all who don't know, Mexican and Lebanese are not races. Those are nationalities. But then she also said, it says right here like on the TV Tropes page, that she is Native American. And Native American basically translate to indigenous.
That being said, like I said, I saw the picture of her parents, very much white presenting people. She is very much white passing, so do what you want with that. And I don't want to sit here and say that Christina cannot call herself a woman of color, because I'm pretty sure, like, you know, from all the information that I have gathered, that she does identify as a woman of color. But like I said, I'm just speaking from like a black woman's perspective and just thinking, like, you know, what we think when we are at first glance with a lot of the people that we come across and whatever the fuck. Like I said, she is very much white passing, but I'm not going to sit here and tell her what she can and cannot identify as, because that's none of my damn concern.
Now, I was debating on whether or not if I wanted to keep this section in the video because, for one, I love Christina V. I think she is a very talented woman. I love her post on Instagram. Like, she has an account that's not boring. But I personally would not be doing this topic justice if I didn't address this part. It would be very fucked up of me, who is someone who is working to get a minor degree in African American Studies, to excuse this. Either way, people are gonna think I'm being a dickhead if we talk about this or not, so here we go. And also, I want to make it a quick note because I was on the phone with one of my friends last night and she had brought this to my attention because but Rainbow High has had numerous other issues where they're inaccurately casted voice actors to be playing roles that were not meant for them, mainly when it has to do with a white voice actor voicing a girl of color. So this is not the only instance of when this happened within this series. Rainbow High is already a series that has enough issues within it with the way blackness and brownness is handled behind the scenes. So having a black girl be voiced by a non-black woman isn't going to make them look any better. And this is a debate that people have been having for years on if it's okay for white actors to voice black characters in Western animation. So let's just start with this statement right here. The majority of Western animation is very much white.
An open letter to the animation profession. Black and Animated is an animation podcast to educate, inform, and inspire black artists pursuing careers in animation. They wrote an open letter in June to the animation studio. In the letter, they outlined the actual work that needs to be done to seriously support black animation community, stating, "While the ultimate goal is to employ more black professionals, it is not enough. Companies must also do the work to analyze their spaces and reform them so that will truly feel safe and inclusive, not just for black employees, but for all indigenous, LGBTQIA, plus disabled and other marginalized employees of color. We recognize that this is important work, will take time and involve uncomfortable conversations and realizations. We support our colleagues as well move forward in the road to the healthier, inclusive industry." The letter calls on studios to take concrete action. An independent audit to the black experience in the animation community. Internal investigations into racial discrimination that will hold offenders accountable. Sensitivity training on anti-black prejudices within the entire company. Commitment to hire more black professionals at all levels. Training and mentoring to ensure black professionals succeed in advancement. Outreach to underprivileged communities, promoting animation as a viable career path. The letter concludes with a list of resources to better be an ally and support the black community. Along with Black and Animated team, several members from other organizations signed a letter in support, such as Black Women Animated, Brick Foundation, y'all gonna eat me up if I say that, Latinos in Animation, and Women in Animation.
So from the writers, to the animators, to the showrunners, to the voice actors, white people take up most of the jobs here. And if you want to find black people who work in animation, you have to go all the way out of your direction to find them. I think in this case that a black character should have been at least voiced by a black voice actor, or at least a biracial voice actor, okay? I personally do think a black woman should have had this role, as black women make up a very tiny percentage of those who work in animation. Also, I think it's time that we call out how voice acting in general is just very much colorist, and it shows really bad within this series because the casting from Rainbow High, behind the scenes, it is very much light skin. And I know people have their debates on whether or not if light-skinned actors should be voicing dark-skinned characters and then on and therefore. But I get that because we're just looking for a voice, and if the person is black, they fit the part. But also when you look at the entire community of voice acting and just acting in general, it's giving very much brown paper bag. I want people to understand that colorism is not something that we see on screen. It happens behind the scenes, and it happens a lot in positions where it comes to jobs that are not with the person's appearance being affected by it. Because retail has this big issue, by the way. Look it up. Look up the colorism within retail, please. Now, as I was saying, the casting for Rainbow High is just very much light skinned, but I really want to focus here on the Latina girls in the series, or the characters that are, you know, the non-black girls of color. As Hollywood is weird when it comes to Latina voice actors because oftentimes they will have a white passing to a certain extent Latina, and they are constantly voicing brown skinned Latina characters. You want to know why this is an issue? Because it happens way too often. Oftentimes, if a voice actor has Latina on their resume, they get the part no matter what the character looks like when it comes to animation. Because I don't think any of you guys are aware of this, but ding, ding, ding. Not all Latina people look the same. Latina is not a race. Latina does not mean mixed. I still can't believe y'all had the nerve to tell me that Latina means mixed. Baby, no. I learned that in school, that does not mean mixed. That is something that you can easily look up. I'm starting to think. Anyway, let me continue. Let me get back on script. But not all Latinas look the same. Some Latinas are just white. Some Latinas are mixed. Some Latinas are indigenous. Some Latinas are black. Some Latinas are Asian. Not all of them are the same, but they don't specify it often in the casting call or whatever, what kind of Latina they're looking for. Are they looking for a Latina of Asian descent? Are they looking for a Latina of Afro descent? They don't fucking tell you. You just see what that character look like on screen, and then you're just like, oh, she's Latina. I just need a Latina voice actor, and they don't even bother to be looking into that aspect of it. But not all of them are the same. They don't specify often in the casting call or whatever, because I remember back in the day with Cree Summer, she was she voiced like all the black girls and everything, because I remember she even said it herself that she voiced all the black girls because she literally did. But we don't really say much about that because she was the only black woman at the time. And mind you that Cree Summer is a biracial black woman, and she is light skinned, and she was taking up most of the jobs. But that is because she really was like the only black woman there that they would cast. They didn't want to go out and branch out and look for many other black voice actors to do roles, because there were plenty of other black voice actors out during that same time period, but they were not getting the same amount of work as Cree Summer. And oftentimes a lot of these actors were ones that did live action film, and they weren't really doing voiceovers all that much. So with Cree Summer, this was back in the 90s and the 2000s. It is 2023. And this is still an issue because yes, it's great that we are seeing more dark-skinned women of color doing voice acting, especially more brown-skinned and dark-skinned black women. But if you look at their rosters, they still do not have that many credits and work as light-skinned and biracial voice actors do. Because you in fact do need headshots when it comes to voice acting. And appearance base is so much of what goes into getting a job in the film industry. It's so sad. Even if the job does not require you to be on camera, by the way you look will affect if you get a job or not. And so much of that is rooted in Eurocentric beauty standards.
Also, for those of you who do not know, fat phobia is also rooted in Eurocentric beauty standards. So yeah, y'all got that. And as I said earlier, do what you please with that information. Overall, the colonization of European people has affected society more deeply than a lot of y'all think it did.
This It's colorism. Now we're gonna go on into the sleepover arc of Rainbow High, because this is the section of Rainbow High where the portrayal of blackness and brownness got worse, and it was towards the end of the season. Now you guys remember Avery? That's literally who I'm dressed up as here for those of you guys who don't know.
First, she doesn't tell me she added a second focus in fashion design, and now she doesn't tell me anything.
Basically, Avery and her best friend Ainsley are fighting. Maybe it's because I'm Avery Hive, but I really just don't like Ainsley at all. Like, this arc right here was when I really stopped caring about her character, because she just straight up stopped talking to Avery, and that was nasty. And here we just see Avery in pain, just begging for her friend's forgiveness. And it's sad that within this episode, we do get to see more black and brown girls, that being Robin.
That's why I tried to get you to do that cry exercise with me.
Marissa.
Acting stuff? Hard pass.
You regret it when I'm gone.
And Brienne.
Oh, why be so dramatic? You're graduating. It's not like we'll never see you again.
Rainbow High basically pulled that strong black woman trope that we are very much sick and tired of seeing with Avery. And the girls of color in that room with them, they just don't really have a story outside of just sitting by Avery and Ainsley's bullshit. And like, sorry not sorry, but it was very uncomfortable to sit and see how the black and brown girls did not check Ainsley on how she was treating and talking to Avery.
You really feel that way? Why didn't you just talk to me about it?
I don't know about y'all, but when it comes to girls of color, there's this thing where we have like this code. It's like the black girl was getting hurt, and then the girls of color in that room didn't do anything to stand up for her, because it's disturbing. In situations like that, it is important for black and brown girls to stand up for each other. As Avery and Ainsley did have what they had going on, I can see that the girls didn't necessarily want to get involved, but here's the deal. They literally sat by and just let Ainsley talk to Avery out of her whole ass that whole night. Girl, bye. So overall, season 2 of Rainbow High is the strongest season in my opinion. Not saying much. But the show did tone it down a bit when they felt the need to feel hip slightly from the first season. But I do think them bringing in new characters and more mature situations did help. Like getting a job and not feeling good enough for your friends, and the relationship drama aspect was handled a lot better in my opinion. But one thing I find funny about season 2 of Rainbow High is that like a lot of these girls realize that they kind of suck as people. But the use of blackness and brownness was not done the best. And I gave this show the benefit of the doubt during season 2, because I was like, oh, it's the second season. The third is coming up. They can fix this. Or so I thought. You want to know why I said that? Because it doesn't get better in season 3. Wait, what do you mean it gets worse?
What you just said. It gets worse.
By the way, y'all, we are filming the last 2 acts of this documentary, because I can call it that, in the middle of a tornado, and it has not stopped. And this is the only time that I have to get this done, so let's go on. I hope it's a nice cute little ASMR for you all. There are numerous issues with Rainbow High season 3 beyond racism and its subsections, and I have no fucking idea where to begin, because this season was straight doo-doo cheeks. Rainbow High has gotten to the point where I truly don't know how I feel about this show going on any longer, because while seasons 1 and 2 were very corny yet cute and enjoyable, season 3 is almost unwatchable. And that is why I'm not really gonna spend as long as I did with the first 2 seasons as I do on this section about season 3, because if I actually do what I want to do and go by episode about how it has gone from worse to worser, we gonna be here all day. Rainbow High season 3 was so garbage that I was just ready to fight all their asses in the end, because everyone was getting on my nerves this entire season, because that's how poorly written it was. Rainbow High Season 3 opens up with the show painting the darkest girl in the room, who was Phaedra, out to be a villain, and then she did put her hands on somebody, and I was just like, oh no. And did they really try to humble old girl? Like, it was just the lighter skins and white girls, but then also Paris Hilton was telling her to humble herself. And mind you, that Paris Hilton has a history of anti-blackness, so that was just a bit distasteful. Maybe you can say that we're looking too hard into this, but Paris Hilton being in a franchise that is about many black and brown girls with her long history of anti-blackness, it makes you go a little But as I mentioned how Sunny constantly gets treated like ass in this show, Sunny looked like she was gonna have her own arc with her evil twin sister, and that shit went nowhere. The other black and brown girls from season 2, they were just kind of like in the background. Also, there was an entire situation with the foreign exchange program, and as I have been told numerous times on my channel that I should not be speaking about South Asian issues because I am not South Asian, I think that right there, because of it just wasn't good in my opinion, but I feel like that is something that a South Asian creator really should bring to light about. But like I said, I'm just giving y'all a suggestion on which I could be making content about. But the way it was handled in season 3 of Rainbow High, it was giving very much a lot of the poor South Asian representation that we have constantly been seeing. So yeah, just make a note of that. But y'all know what I'm about to get into with the main issue with Rainbow High when it comes to black girls. Because really, when it has come to the numerous race issues with Rainbow High and people finally calling it out, we about to get into it because people finally started to call the show out for its colorist ass bullshit. And that was the entire situation that happened with the Rainbow Divas. They literally put the dark skin and brown skin girls against the light skin girls, and then the brown skin and dark skin girls were like aggressive, and the light skin girls of the groups were all nice and sweet. This is the reason why I just do not care about Sabrina St. Cloud's character, because of the colorism that happened to make her be painted out into a better light. And girl bye. This is straight up Real Housewives of Potomac now. Please, no. And as I mentioned, that it did not hit me that this show had a colorism issue along with how it portrays black and brownness in odd ways until this arc in season 3. That and the foreign exchange student program arc. But because once I saw this, I went back and I rewatched the show to see like what could have led up to this. And mind you that the main reason I rewatched season 1 and 2 of Rainbow High is because season 3 was so ass that I was just disappointed. And I saw that it was always there. It was just done in very subtle ways. Ways that we did not notice until it was too late. And we praise Rainbow High for being inclusive with different skin tones and girls of different backgrounds and such. But also, that's pretty much bare minimum. And I don't think they should be praised for that because of what they're doing with these characters. I'm not sorry, but as a black woman and seeing that people are doing the bare minimum of putting black girls and brown girls within their work and they still put them in the background, don't really give them much character development or anything like that, let alone not really have many dolls for them in the store compared to the white dolls, I'm not giving them a happy handshake and saying thank you. I'm like, oh, you did that, but you didn't really do it all that greatly. Like, that's just the thing that a lot of people in this community talk about. You guys gotta stop and do this and then the third. Baby, no. Y'all need to actually learn how to fucking talk to black people because that's not how you talk to one. Like I said, we praise Rainbow High for its inclusiveness with the different skin tones and the girls of different backgrounds. But also, all of us were blinded by the cuteness from this show. Like, it literally took us years to realize that the live action Bratz movie was racist and colorist as hell too. And because this was something so wholesome, we didn't really want to own up to the fact that it has issues. If you're at the point where you're still getting upset with somebody bringing up valid critiques about the race relations and the things you like, baby, you might as well keep getting upset because it's not going to stop happening. It's always been a thing that's going on. Even in a lot of the things that I enjoy, there are issues with race. It's okay to admit those things. Colorism and anti-blackness is present within this series from the beginning. Like, looking at some of the casting choices that make you raise eyebrows, then looking at the writer's room, and then you look at the person who made this bullshit, who I found out from a lot of y'all on Instagram that he would be deleting comments when people had mentioned things about his colorism and how he was also not very nice to fans. Like I said, he's giving Thomas Astrup. Rainbow High is very much made through and for the white gaze. Shit like this is why black and brown people are so skeptical about things made for them, created by white people. It's always fucked up because somehow they don't want to sit down, take the time to do their proper research and unlearn their internalized and casual racism and do a better job when it comes to representation. Here, I would like to read you guys a piece from an article that highlights why black people are not comfortable with white people writing them. Mainly because y'all don't know how to listen.
As a creator, whenever an audience encounters your art, you become the student. You must accept learning the truth about the characteristics and stories you have created, and through them about your biases and blind spots. You become a student in the reaction that is not just your work, but the work of others can produce. If you are not black, when you become aware of the resentment which black characters that feel shallow or stereotypical, which perhaps you were not aware until this very moment, take heed. You have to write what you know or seek deeply to know. Research continues to show time and time again the impact that the media we consume has on us. We talk a lot about media representation and why it matters for black people and other people of color. But the concept of representation misses the mark when black characters in media fail to stimulate actual living black people, if they so often fail to do. For black characters to be believable, genuine, and authentic, and rise above stereotypes, black writers almost always need to have write them. If you don't know or understand what it is to be black, which most non-black people do not and cannot, you are very unlikely to write efficient black characters that don't come across flat, buffoonish, ridiculous, and insulting to black viewers. Things as basic as stereotypical speech patterns and dress that may miss the eye of non-black creators that approximate but do not truly reflect or that negatively depict black people are deeply troubling and painful for black consumers. The stereotypical depiction creates a monolithic view of what it means to be black. The repetitive stereotypical depiction causing living black people to exhaustingly be bombarded with commentary by non-black viewers that we are particularly articulate or not like other black people because we don't speak, dress, or act like black characters in media. From the consumer perspective, there is something painful and dehumanizing for marginalized people when we see ourselves represented over and over in ways that don't ring true or that conform to damaging and demeaning stereotypes in both fiction and nonfiction, especially when there are so many talented, marginalized content creators who are capable of telling our stories more authentically, but who largely have not been given sufficient opportunity to do so by media gatekeepers for reasons that little to do with the validation or marketability of the content they create. We know that this is true across the board. But the New York Times made it especially clear in the review of the book. Publishing industry found that 95% of books published between 1950 and 2018 had white writers.
Sorry, not sorry, but just putting a black and brown character in your show ain't it. If they just walking around in the background and not doing nothing. Sorry, not sorry, but having a black and brown character in your show ain't shit if you just push problematic tropes onto them. Sorry, not sorry, but having a black and brown character in your show ain't shit if they only have a few lines here and there. Sam Levinson, this applies to you just as well. And sorry, not sorry, but having a black and brown character in your show ain't shit if you just gonna have them there to aid the white kids or get pushed around by them. So Rainbow High is a prime example of two things. One, white people ask for help when it comes to writing black and brown characters. And two, we need black writers writing for black characters and darker skin characters just as well. One black person is not enough. One Latina writer, which I remind y'all is not a race, but from the looks of the Latina writer that they have for the series, she is visibly brown, is not enough. While Rainbow High is technically a smaller show, as the credits for the episodes are fairly short, they were literally no extras walking around in the background of the series until they started to add more dolls to the collection, and the voice actors were often recycled around to voice other characters. I mean, just look at the models. Most of the girls have the same model design, just different colors. It's so obvious that so much of the money for this franchise goes towards the dolls, as like I said, it's a doll line. It does make sense. And with Rainbow High Season 3 introducing so many new characters all at once, the quality of the series went down. But Rainbow High was making more and more money with the dolls. We have to remember that Rainbow High's show was mainly made to sell the dolls. This isn't new. Like, doll lines do this shit all the time, but oftentimes when it comes to the movies and the shows made for doll lines, they can be kind of trash. I wouldn't say Rainbow High Season 1 and 2 are trash because the heart of the series is still very much there, as the first 2 seasons came out during a time where story-driven cartoons was like a trend on social media and just nerd culture in general. Because Rainbow High needed to make a name for itself. Like, nobody knew what it was when it came out in 2020, and compared to the other doll lines that were out at the time, nobody cared too much for them. Rainbow High wanted you to care about them, which led to why the show made you feel things from time to time. And also, by the way, if you are not a black, like a person of color of darker skin, high-key don't care about your opinion about this. Mainly, your job is to sit down and listen. I don't care if you don't think that certain things about colorism with these series is not colorism. Now it's the time for you to shut up and listen. But as I said, Rainbow High wanted you to care about these characters. That's why they like put things in the show that made you feel things. You spent time with these characters. You got to know them. But remember that white people are in charge of this. Most of the people in charge of it are white people. And many of them just do not take the time to understand people of color better and why certain things can be read as racist or anti-black or microaggressive. It's becoming frustrating how more bluntly clear this franchise's use of black and brownness needs a lot more work when they added a bunch of black and brown dolls to the series. But you know, they mainly did this for the sake of making money, which led to too many characters being in the show, the characters of color already in the show getting shitted on, and the new ones being extremely poorly written. It was a bit difficult for me to care about them. After I saw in the beginning of season 3 when they were trying to humble Phaedra, who is a dark-skinned girl with a lot of confidence, I already knew the season was going to be odd. Rainbow High Season 3 helped me see the issues with this show that it has had from its beginnings. And I truly don't know how I feel about season 4 of the show, if they even get one, because I'm not even sure how they can come back from this. As a woman of color, a black woman specifically, a black woman who was literally working to get a bachelor's minor degree in African American studies, season 3's portrayal of blackness and brownness made me feel uncomfortable. Rainbow High likes to act as if they're doing black and brown girls a favor with having them being poorly written and developed characters depending on tired tropes for their show. But they're not. You're not helping. If anything, you're making things worse. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this documentary, because that's what I can call it, Rainbow High was created by a white man, and it shows terribly. So, how do you feel about the show now that it's turned into this?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Now that you see, you should beware of the power of 3. They come to fight as fast as they can. They're dangerous yet fabulous. Because the Utonium made them eschew. They are the colors of pink, green, and blue. They'll catch you in the blink of an eye and do it all before bedtime.